Joining us from South Carolina, the aforementioned Senator Marco Rubio. Okay, let's start with this. When you told your supporters that your mistakes in the New Hampshire debate would never happen again, what mistakes were you referring to?
Well, look, I went into that debate in the hopes of not triggering a Republican-on-Republican fight, because I think by and large, when you have those, it helps the left and it helps the Democrats. And so I was attacked by Governor Christie, and I could have responded by attacking his record, and perhaps in hindsight, that's what I should have done. And instead, I tried to pivot back to something I'll continue to say, and that is that what's happening in this country is part of a deliberate plan by Barack Obama to change the role of government in our country and the role of our country in the world. And I repeated it 3 or 4 times, and I guess I said the exact words, and so it created this narrative.
Yeah.
And it was a distraction at the end of our campaign, and I think it hurt us in New Hampshire. And so I took responsibility.
You were once a football player, right? Down in Florida, weren't you a football player?
Yeah.
Okay. And I was
not a good one, but yeah.
I was one too. I think I was the same as you. And after the game, we would watch films, right?
Yeah.
Now, did you watch a film of your debate performance?
Well, it's hard to turn on the TV and not see the film of those 90 seconds.
I know, but what I'm trying to get at is, it was more about, yes, Christie hammered you, but you know, Christie himself, it was a Pyrrhic victory because he didn't gain anything and now he's out of the race. So maybe that wasn't wise for the New Jersey governor to do that to you. However, the portrayal was shallow guy, shallow guy, rehearsed, they write his stuff, not presidential. That's what was being peddled, rather than the message that Obama knows what he's doing and he wants to change the country in bad ways, which is what you were saying. Do you see any validity to that? Do you see yourself as maybe being a little bit too reliant on the soundbite?
No, because if you look at it, there's been 8 debates now, and I've answered, except for those 90 seconds, by and large, it's been viewed as every debate I've had, I've been among the best people, and in some cases, people argue the best person in those debates. And I've been asked questions you never could have anticipated. I'm on here with you tonight, and you can ask me any question you want.
I'm surprised the voters held it against you so much. See, I didn't know whether they would or not. I couldn't make a call. But they did in New Hampshire. I don't know why.
Well, I think part of the problem was that in the last 72 hours, you want to be closing your campaign with your message, and instead, that space got eaten up by this talk about this.
It's a good point.
Question.
Okay, let's go on to South Carolina.
Yeah. So,
South Carolina, totally different state than Iowa and New Hampshire. Nothing in common. What do you believe is the primary issue South Carolinian Republican voters are interested in?
Well, by far, it always has been national security and the military. Now, they care about everything else as well, of course, but this is a state that has a strong commitment to national security. By the way, on economics, South Carolina is an example to the country of what we should be doing as Americans. I mean, this country has a vast manufacturing base. It is growing in manufacturing where America is shrinking, and it's because they've reduced taxes and lowered regulatory burdens.
It's a favorable climate. Boeing came in and all of that. But let me get back to the national security thing. So there's a lot of military people in South Carolina. My uncle lived in Columbia, South Carolina, and he was in the Army, and so we all know that culture. But every Republican, every single one is saying, I'm tough, I'm going to build up the military, I'm going to go stomp ISIS. You know, you're not talking to Bernie Sanders here. You're talking to people of like mind. Well, how are you going to separate yourself from the pack?
Well, there are differences. No, there are differences. Look at Ted Cruz, for example. Ted Cruz, in his time in the Senate, has only voted for one budget. And the only budget he ever voted for was a budget put forth by Rand Paul, and it's a budget that bragged about cutting the Defense Department. It bragged about cutting the military. So it's a budget. We're already not spending enough on the military, and this budget bragged about cutting it even more. And he did it probably as a wink to libertarians, or he did it for some other reason.
No, he did it because the conservatives want a balanced budget amendment. They don't want to spend any more money than the government takes in.
Well, but
that's why Cruz did it.
Yeah, but you know what? There's a lot of other but there are a lot of fiscal conservatives in the United States Senate that didn't vote for that because we understand that national security spending is not the reason why we have a debt. Our debt is being driven by the way Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, and by the way, the interest on the debt is structured in the years to come. And so that's where you deal with it. Not national security, the military is the first thing we should spend money on. You have to fully fund that first, and then you should be paying for everything else. Now, and so that's a big difference between him and I.
In South Carolina, I see it as 2 races. I see it as Cruz versus Trump, and then you versus Bush versus Kasich. It's almost 2 races. You and Governor Bush used to be friends. Is it safe to say you are not friends any longer?
No, I'm his friend, and I've never said a negative thing about him as a
so
person.
you're still
I
his
admire
friend.
him very much. I think he was a good governor of Florida.
Okay, so you're still his friend. You don't take it personally that he's trying to vie for the same crew that you're trying to vie for.
Right.
Is there anyone in the race, Trump, Cruz, Kasich, that you're not too fond of? You got to tell me the truth now.
No. No. There
You're
isn't.
okay with
it's
all
not
of them?
personal. No. Absolutely. And let me tell you, though, but campaigns and elections are about differences. You've got to point out the differences.
Absolutely.
In the case of Governor
It's
Bush.
how you do it.
So, for example, right. So it's not personal. I like them. I like these people. And look, I get along with Ted Cruz. I get along with Donald. I get along with Jeb. I get along with John Kasich. But we're going to have a debate about differences because voters have to make up their mind. They can't pick 5 people or 6 people. They can only pick one. And if the differences are about policy, that's very valid. If the differences are personal or insults or name calling, not only do I think that's inappropriate, I think it's counterproductive, and the Democrats would love to see it. I mean, they would love to see a bloody,
they're yelling at each
personal,
other
nasty
now too, so they're having their own problems over there. All right, Senator, good luck. As I said, Senator Rubio is available to us and answers the questions, and that's all we can ask. And we appreciate it. Good luck in the debate, and we'll check in with you soon.